Have you ever noticed that some people seem slightly uneasy around you, even though you've done nothing wrong? Maybe a conversation that should feel easy suddenly feels stiff. Maybe people choose their words a little too carefully when they're talking to you. Maybe you've walked into a room and felt the energy shift, just slightly, just enough to notice. If this sounds familiar, stay with me, because what's happening has very little to do with anything you've said or done. Here's the part most people never learn. Humans don't just respond to actions. We respond to signals, calmness, quiet confidence, self-respect, emotional independence. And most of the time, we're not even consciously aware we're reading these signals. They land somewhere deeper, somewhere instinctive. So if people act strange around you, it might be because you're giving off something they don't quite know how to categorize. Let's start with the first sign. You don't chase approval. Most people, often without realizing it, are constantly scanning for validation. A nod, a laugh, a reassuring text back. It's wired into us, this need to know we're accepted. So when someone shows up who isn't doing that, who isn't performing for reaction, it registers as unusual, almost suspicious. Not because you're cold, but because you're not playing the same game everyone else learned to play early in life. Second sign. You're comfortable with disagreement. Most people experience conflict as a threat, something to avoid or smooth over immediately. If you can say, "I see it differently" without your voice shaking or your face flushing, that's rare. And rare things make people pay closer attention than they'd like to admit. Third sign. You observe more than you speak. You notice tone shifts. You catch the pause before someone answers. You read a room before you ever decide to talk in it. This kind of quiet attentiveness can feel intimidating because most people assume that someone who's watching closely is also judging closely. They don't always realize that observation, for you, isn't judgment. It's just how you process the world. Fourth sign, you don't react quickly. When something happens, good or bad, you pause. You let it land before you respond. In a culture that rewards instant reaction, that gap can feel almost unnerving to people who are used to immediate emotional feedback. Your silence isn't absence, it's processing, but not everyone can tell the difference right away. Fifth sign. Your boundaries are clear. Many people unconsciously expect open access to your time, your attention, your emotional energy. When you calmly say no, or simply don't offer more than you intend to give, it can create friction. Not because you did anything wrong, but because boundaries interrupt a pattern someone else may have grown used to relying on. Sixth sign, you don't follow the crowd. Social conformity is one of the most powerful forces in human behavior. Most people shift their opinions just slightly to match the group around them. When you don't, when you hold a thought simply because it's yours, it can unconsciously challenge people who haven't questioned why they believe what they believe. And the seventh sign, you're comfortable being alone. Solitude terrifies a lot of people. It's quiet, and quiet can feel like exposure. Someone who can sit with themselves, who doesn't need constant noise or company to feel okay, often comes across as unusually self-contained, almost powerful in a way that's hard to name. So here's the real insight, the one underneath all of this. People aren't always reacting to you. Sometimes they're reacting to what your presence reflects back at them. Your confidence can quietly highlight their own self-doubt. Your calm can sit right next to their anxiety and make it more visible. Your boundaries can outline the very places where they still struggle to protect their own peace. If people sometimes seem uncomfortable around you, it doesn't automatically mean you're doing something wrong. Sometimes it simply means you're comfortable in places where others are still learning how to be. So tell me, has anyone ever made you feel like you were too calm, too independent, or too much simply for being yourself? I'd really like to hear your story in the comments.